It's that time again. It's time for another Saturday night special where we talk about everything rockhounding related. Over the past couple of years, as I've started to really learn a lot about rocks and minerals, specifically minerals, I have had one major problem that I've not been able to find a good way around, and that is not having a big diverse selection of minerals to be able to study. Now, as many of you know, we buy very, very little material and we choose to go out and do a lot of field collecting, which, as fun as that is, you're barely putting a tiny, tiny, minuscule little dent in the variety that one can acquire within several days' drive of your house, you know. So that has left me a lot to, book reading, learning from just reading Mindat and books and stuff. Well, I had a very generous and thoughtful gift was given to me this week, and it is this. So now, this doesn't look like much on camera, but each one of these has a little tiny mineral wrapped up in it. And these are for micro mounting. And I didn't get to a whole lot of it this week, but I did get to some of it. I got to eight micros, and we will look at these here shortly. But this really opens up a lot of possibilities for me. If you do not know, micro mounts are these guys right here. Look at these little tiny P1 boxes. Okay. And I mount my specimen in here, and this preserves it. I'm able to observe it under the microscope, and I'm able to work on my photography as well. So to be able to have a diverse selection of different specimens that I can study is so beneficial. It is so beneficial in the photos, because that's another thing that I really have started to spend more time on. And if we use this little guy as an example, it doesn't look like much in the case. But when we look at a photo that I was able to produce of it, it looks significantly better. And there's a lot that goes into some of these photos. It's not something that you can generally just take with a standard, you're not doing that with your phone, as an example. I have kind of a whole big setup. And we'll be talking a little bit more about the photos. The other piece that I took a photo of was this piece of azurite. And it's not the best photo. I've started to experiment with some gradient backgrounds, as well as some adding of shadows, and just kind of learning. This is a learning process, People don't really understand how much effort kind of goes into high quality mineral photos. So, it's a big learning curve to be able to produce photos of this size and quality. The azurite, I need to work on some of the lighting. There's some areas that are like super bright, and the light is bouncing down and right up into the lens, and it's kind of just blowing it out. So I need to work with some different lighting options to correct that. But overall, I'm making good progress. It's very, very good. So there's a lot more stuff that I have to mount up. I kind of like to do it little by little and kind of learn about things as I mount them. So I'm kind of slow in that sense. Maybe someday I'll be a lot faster at it once I know everything. Like that's even possible. Last week, I got a message, a comment that I would like to answer tonight, and that was from See Clearly. They asked how and what's the deal with the thumbnails, with the thumbnail specimens? What are the cases? How am I holding them in here? So for those that don't know, this is the thumbnail size. This little box right here, referred to as a Perky. The company that used to make these was called Perky. And what we have here is we have a piece of foam which gets pressed in, and this is that case. it is generally for more fine and flawless specimens that you might want to observe, such as this right here. This is a piece of Thompsonite, and it's a nice, high-quality specimen, something I would generally want to look at under a microscope. Usually thumbnails are meant to be enjoyed just like visually with your eyeballs. Needs magnification, doesn't necessarily need magnification, but sometimes you do, at least the way I do it. You know, some people will get very involved in the thumbnail community, thumbnail size collector community. I'm kind of using the thumbnail cases as a means of preserving some of these larger pieces that aren't micro size. So another example is this right here. This is a piece of parasite with anabergite. Look at that. And you can kind of see in there, this is held in with this stuff. I use this putty, and you just kind of pinch off a little piece and you warm it between your fingers and stick your specimen down. Now, it's not always the best option. You can get little acrylic bases that go in these, and there's going to be times where hot glue is better. If you put hot glue on the foam insert, it's done, right? Like, you're not getting that off, and you have to kind of put your specimen in some alcohol to dissolve the hot glue, and you destroy your foam. And it's more, there's a time and place for the putties, and there's a time and place for hot glue. For me, I use the putty with the foam. If I have acrylic base, I can use hot glue, but it is it is slightly more permanent, and it's good if you have fragile stuff because it's hot. You don't have to try to press it in, but you know, and it's clear, which optically it's nice to not have to see something. So that's what's up with those. This week I finished this supplement to the mineralogical record, and we're right here. So this is amazing. There is a whole world of thumbnail specimens and competitions. One thing that I've seen and heard about is mineral competitions at these shows. It's nothing I've ever participated in, nothing I've ever seen before, and this changed my opinion. My opinion hasn't been the best of mineral competitions. You know, it really kind of seems like a rich person's game where basically whoever has the most money wins. You know, you can buy the perfect specimens and display them. And there's actually a lot more to it. So I was kind of wrong in my assessment of the thumbnail community. But to kind of get back a little bit to some of the photos, I do like learning some of this. So like in that one, you can kind of see a little bit of a reflection. So that's probably taken on a piece of glass. But I want to do more things like this. It's kind of nice to see these and be like, that one's got artificial shadow and that one doesn't. But yeah, these types of photos are really quite, it's a beautiful book to look through. And I'm just trying to learn about some of the photography aspects of it. So highly recommend that before it goes away. These things have a tendency to kind of like dry up, if you will, and become harder and harder to come by. Now, the reason I haven't gotten some specimens to study on my own, and I'll give you kind of an idea. So these micros here, right? If I was to go out and purchase like chunky pieces of these four, kind of more hand specimens of these four, I did some research on what I could probably buy right now, and for 4 of those, I would have spent about $450 to get something equal in quality, but like bigger, bigger in size, so that I would be able to observe it without the microscope. So the micro's an amazing learning tool for me that I'm very, very happy to have. I also got to see my my buddy Curtis this week. He gave me a couple of rocks that I can work on, which will be fun. He gave me this lovely piece of tiger's eye. which it's pretty thick, so I might split that. I might cut that using the Slabosaurus holder. I think that would be good. I could definitely get 2 slabs out of that. Tiger eye is not something I've worked a whole lot with, but I have worked with it, so that'll be a fun project, especially once it warms up. Right now, as I film this, it's like 20 degrees. So even though I have my arbor now, it's not 20-degree work time. It's, you know, your hands get wet, so I got to be a little mindful of that. He also gave me a couple of things to work on cabbing up. So there is a piece of stabilized turquoise that he stabilized. That'll be fun. He also gave me another piece of turquoise that already has a back on it, which isn't something I know anything about, but I will probably cut this into something. But it's stabilized and backed, and there's a first for everything, and this will be a first for me, so that'll be a fun thing to work on once we get a little bit of nicer weather. I gotta be like, it's gotta be like 40 degrees out here with the heat on for me to start getting my hands wet. Well, I think I gotta address something. You know, some of my favorite videos to make are ones that really involve a lot of kind of like deep dive, a lot of planning, a lot of research, a lot of figuring things out. That's my favorite stuff, you know. I'm less into the whole like the wow, look at this videos, and I really want to provide something meaningful. And that is why I started to really do a lot with these blades. You know, the studying of lapidary blades and how it relates to us lapidaries cutting rocks. And I feel like I've learned a lot. And I definitely enjoy making the videos about these things. I do not always enjoy the response I get. You know, people are very, very opinionated about their blades and really have a tendency to spit a lot of venom towards me, which generally I just take it. I'm like, okay, whatever. So long as you're not cussing me out, I leave the comments up. But man, it's not, how to say this? Being critical of something is not, don't take it personal. You know, so many people take it personal to be like, MK303s, I don't believe are a good value. That said, if somebody has money to spare and you want to go buy, you know, a $100, $150, $200, $400, $600 blade, you want to go buy a $600, $500 blade for your giant saw, have at it. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying there might be other viable options for people. And I don't see anything wrong with pointing that out. Now, as far as the actual like testing goes, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that never makes it into a video because it's boring. It's boring. Like, already making of videos about lapidary blades is very niche, right? It applies to a very small number of people. The videos take a long time, they're expensive, and they don't get a lot of views. But for the people that are cutters, I think it's very valuable. And all of this stuff that I've ever shown as far as lapidary blades go, I show my homework. I put it all out there so somebody else can go replicate it and try it for themselves, see for themselves. If you want to inspect your blade, you don't need a nice microscope and like all the things. You can get by with like a 20 or 30x jeweler's loop, and you can see exactly what I'm kind of showing. Usually when I show the blades, I'm showing them at 40x, which is good for, you know, video, but like the human eye could see this, you know. So before I started making the content about lapidary blades, there was nothing. And still, for the most part, there's an extremely small number of things. You know, I want people to have a good time, and I assume people are not like, or how to say this, I assume that people are kind of like me in their positions of, this is a hobby. You don't have in infinite cash. I'm not a rich man. I think most people that are into lapidary that I've met are, you know, not poor, but not like, you know, throwing money in the garbage can. So I think, you know, videos that show high value products is important. And I'm going to keep doing them occasionally. And I might be a little more strict in the comments that I allow, though, because I don't know, you know, maybe sometimes I feel like maybe I'm not a good YouTuber, because some of the things that people say, I can't help but let it live a little rent-free in my mind. And it's never people like criticizing like the things that I say or do. It's usually just like straight up like mean, nasty personal attacks. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, if there's something I don't like, I just like don't look at it. And it's that. Like, I've never felt the need to be like, ooh, I'm going to tell this person off. It just seems like a waste of time. Well, I hope you're having a fabulous week. It's going to warm up here a little bit, which I'm looking forward to. This coming week, I have 2 fabulous videos for you. And I'm going to keep working on some of my mounts, some of my photos, keep trying to get better at that. I think there's a lot of value to be had in, you know, the like minutia of minerals and the study of it. So see where I can go with this. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for coming by, listening to what I have to say, and I will catch you in the next video.